Welcome to City View. It's actually been some time since we've been on the air. We're going to mix it up going forward. We're going to be, I think, a little more interesting, hopefully, for those that view the show each week. We're going to be on site on a number of projects that are happening around our city. And today I'm very fortunate to have with us Joseph Shea, who is a senior principal at Woodin & Curran, who excellent engineering company, and they're very involved in our infrastructure planning, designing, and engineering. So today I'm with Joe, and we're on the site of the Hancock Adams Green construction. This is a project that's been talked about for many, many years. It actually goes way back, Joe, to Walter Hannon when he was mayor, talking about closing this road down. At that time, he talked about a tunnel going in Hancock Street, and I think at the time, Councilor Dennis Harrington suggested we put windows in the crypts so people could wave to the presidents as they went by. But as you know, that would be a very, very challenging infrastructure project. So Walter thought about it, though. The idea was the same as it is today, that we got to get the traffic off of this beautiful space between the church and City Hall. Essentially, the church became a rotary over the decades, and so reclaiming our history, reclaiming the space, and I think it's going to be a very welcome addition, both for visitors and our families. So, you know, I appreciate all the work you do and the great team we have. So I'd like to do, maybe we can walk over and check out a little bit of what actually is physically going on, and maybe you can give us a little update on what's happening and about the contractor that we have.
Absolutely. So putting a tunnel under Hancock Street, although Mayor Hannon in the early 70s may have been visionary, would have been incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
What you see here is the relocation of a number of utilities to make space for the promenade, for the park elements, for the fountain elements. But it's not just the relocation of utilities, it's the modernization of utilities. What were 6-inch diameter water mains that may be 70 or 80 years old are now going to be modern water mains. Sewer replacements.
Do we increase the capacity as well?
We certainly do.
Yep.
Almost 4 times the capacity of all the utilities. So pipe diameters are increasing. And what we've also learned through this process is this road has hundreds of years of history. We've found railroad ties, we've found cobbles, we've found old drainage cisterns, and a lot of, again, aging components that don't have any value. But every once in a while we find something interesting. For example, we found a glass bottle still intact that says the A.G. Durgan Apothecary from Quincy, Massachusetts.
That's a mouthful. Want to say that 3 times
It is.
fast?
We will be getting this over to Dr. Fitzgerald, see if he can do some research on this former business. But every once in a while, we'll find a little nugget.
It's interesting. Not only, obviously, we're doing sewer, water, and drain, and all the infrastructure necessary for the components. Talk a little bit about the water elements. We have 2 major water elements in the park and what that requires.
We do. We're going to have 2 different fountains in the park. On the north side of the park, closest to the Monroe building, there's going to be a tidal fountain, which is a very grand fountain that shoots water up in the air at different elevations that you will know you are near a fountain when you're in the area. It's quite a feature.
That was the idea.
And the second fountain is called a spigot fountain, and it will address the entrance to the historic Hancock Cemetery. So it will be on the southern side of the park, and it will actually be 2 fountains where water drips down the walls that you will walk between as you enter the Hancock Cemetery. Really more of a serene place where you can sit and reflect. There'll be benches, there'll be greenery and shrubbery. It'll be really make it the type of entranceway that is deserving of such a historic cemetery.
And a lot of this planning has been going on for a number of years, but when we did the City Hall project, which is the beautiful old town hall of 1844, as you know, we went through a major renovation with Jim Edwards as the architect, and it really came out so beautiful. But while we were digging and doing the foundation work, we thought it was the time to put the chamber and the tank in that will control these water elements. You want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, how many gallons does it hold?
What you can't see underground is all of the piping network in a very large vault to hold 50,000 gallons of water with pumping components.
So talk about that. We're recirculating the same water.
That is correct. Within the fountain system, we recirculate the water. It controls the fountains. It allows the city to turn them off at appropriate times to control the height of the tidal fountain. It also does allow the city, as you are recycling the water, to clean that water. over time. That way it's an efficient use of water. Water has become quite a commodity, as appropriately so. It may not have been 70 years ago, but it certainly is now.
Right.
And speaking of reuse, some of the other elements that you'll see in the park is we have been accumulating and saving Quincy granite from various projects around the downtown. And we have components of granite that we've refinished to see how they will fit into the park such that they match the historic town hall and that they match the church of the presidents.
Yeah, I think that is awesome. As you know, with the town hall, the addition in the back that connects the old building with the glass building. I was never a fan of the glass building, but it's there. We used a lot of granite that we saved from the old Quincy High School, so that's all Quincy granite that was used on that addition. So anytime we have that ability, it's pretty cool because we haven't quarried Quincy granite in decades, and so there's not a lot of it around or available for a project like this. So I know that we'll be using where we can some Quincy granite, but no, we can't do all of the elements with it. I know the architect in Halverson, Richard Houghton, done a nice job. They're getting some granite that really looks very close to what Quincy granite would be. And I know we got a promenade with pavers and a plaza with pavers and edging and other granite benches and elements. So I think it's important for people to realize that there is a real theme to this park when it will be finished. I think once it's finished, people will appreciate that. It's I think in a very real way and very visible way, it's us reclaiming our place in history. The promenade is going to be on both ends. Really, the welcoming point at the northern end at the promenade will be a beautiful statue of John Adams. The setting is really nice. The southern end, where you talked about that more reflective water feature, will be the statue of John Hancock. Both of them were born in Quincy, and both of them played a major role in the formation of this country. So I think that they could both become national monuments right here on the Hancock Adams Green, because as we know, there is no national monument to either one of these gentlemen who played such a big role. Pretty cool stuff. So now we talked about some of the city infrastructure, but there's other infrastructure here. I know we've been dealing with Verizon and there's other issues. So you want to talk a little bit about that and the age of the duck that's under here?
That is correct. Some of the elements you won't see here. You can see this is local 133, the laborers, and local 4 operators, and they have been working to remove and relocate a Verizon duck bank that services the South Shore. That for sections of this duck bank are over 80 years old and are wooden. The city has installed, working with the private partners, new modern duck banks for what eventually will be the abandonment of copper and the use of fiber as technology has evolved significantly.
It's like some 27,000 phone lines that run through it?
Somewhere around 30,000 phone lines run right underneath this park, using copper, which is now becoming more antiquated. So,
right.
Not only is the city doing their part with public utilities, they're working to help Engrid Gas and Verizon and Comcast and some private internet vendors have proper infrastructure through this park.
Yeah.
What you can also see through this excavation is it gets awfully tight
Absolutely.
through this roadway.
Yeah.
Some of the piping, as we increase, again, pretty much a 4-fold increase in capacity for everything, that chews up a lot of real estate. So getting it all proper, because this park is not coming back up. This isn't like a roadway.
That's exactly right. We talked about that. We got to get it right. We got to get it done right.
Once.
Yeah.
As we talked about starting with the end in mind, for example, this hydrant's been sticking up for a while. This is actually the proper height. The promenade and the sitting area is actually coming up slightly above Hancock Street. So although this may look out of place at the moment,
so it'll come up to just about
blend in,
below the...
Come up to right where the red paint ends.
Yep.
So it's actually, you can start to begin to see a number of the features that are the final features. They may just look out of place.
Which is another important
done.
piece when you look at a park this size, and all the elements and walkways. A lot of time was spent on the elevation. Then you got the connection into the city hall, the steps in the front, how that's going to relate with those steps, and the steps to the church, the entrance to the church. So I know a lot of effort was put into this by both by you and by Halverson Design. As the space comes to completion, I think at that point we'll be able to work with our Park and Rec folks and even the chamber to talk about, okay, what do we want to see? How can we help both business, the tourism piece, provide people an opportunity? It's going to be a great venue for all those types of things. So, and it's funny, when you stand here now, you have a great appreciation, because you couldn't stand here before, you get killed. But when you look south and you see the Adams building on the corner, how pretty that building is, and straight ahead, the old South Shore Bank, or Granite Trust building, now the Bank of America building, is undergoing a major restoration. We used to call that the Superman building when we were kids. It was the tallest building in Quincy for a number of years before a lot of the other high-rises were built. So, I want to thank again Joe Shea for joining us today from Woodard and Curran, and we've got a great team here on the Hancock Adams Green project, and again, we'll be giving you more updates as it continues to progress, and as we get closer to the holiday season, we'll let you know how we're going to do the Christmas lighting. That's another interim challenge for this year, but we'll figure it all out. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much, man. My pleasure.